let's dive in. I think on the women's side, and it is the more open of the two slams for sure, of the two fields, I should say. Women's field much more open than the men's side, and as Aryna Sabalenka is the world number one and the number one seed, of course, at the event. Are we convinced that she is the favorite going into this event? Because she's had a couple hiccups on clay already, losing at her past two events with early losses to Haley Baptiste, lost to Cirstea. I think she has a reasonable draw in the first few rounds, but you wonder if there's some doubt in the back of Sabalenka's mind. She'd been so dominant through the Sunshine double stretch, winning both of those titles and been on such a great roll. She was finalist last year where she had a tough emotional loss to Coco Gauff. Can she put a couple bad clay losses behind her and kind of right the ship here in time at the French Open is really the question on everyone's mind.
Yeah, and perhaps that great run back-to-back at Indian Wells and Miami took a lot out of the tank from her. It's a crazy busy tennis season, and she's going deep in most tournaments, so it's not surprising to me that perhaps a bit of a hiccup when we switch surfaces. Also, she's been pretty open about taking a little bit of time to take a break after those two hardcore tournaments, and we've seen her out there on vacation, which is great that the players are able to. Some of the players able to fit that into their schedule, looking ahead to a 11-month grind and knowing that they need to take some breaks. But look, her consistency in the majors has been just outstanding. She has not failed to progress to a quarterfinal or better since the French Open in 2022. So we're going back, 4 years of making the quarterfinals now or better at the slams. In the last couple of years, I mean, look, you've got the wins at the Aussie Open and the US Open. True, it's all on hard court, but she's also made the semifinals, quarterfinals, and finals at Roland Garros in her last 3 appearances. So she knows how to peak at these events. I have no doubt that whatever little hiccup we've seen here recently is not something that's going to derail her or her confidence when it matters most. Sabalenka is going to show up.
I believe she's going to show up. If there was maybe a player in this sort of first quarter, first kind of bracket that you see that could trouble Aryna Sabalenka with her tennis, maybe for me it's a little recency bias because it's our most recent interview on this podcast where I did speak with American Iga Swiatek. She's the 17th seed. She's been playing some really, really good tennis and is trending in a pretty good direction. So a few tough losses to great players over her past few events. Is she someone who could give problems to Aryna Sabalenka, maybe before we get into the Canadian, who's lingering there at number 9 as well?
Yeah, well, first of all, that was a great get for our podcast to get Iga Swiatek while she was playing in Strasbourg. A bright light, a future star of the game who's already in the top 20. It's really incredible. She's got a pretty exciting first-round matchup against Alexandra Iala, another young up-and-coming player on the women's tour. And also in that little section, before we could even get to Sabalenka, there is Naomi Osaka, who, although not known for her clay court prowess, she's gotten a whole lot better on this surface, I feel like, in recent years. And I think she could cause some trouble here as well. So, yes, it'd be great to see Jovic have that, what would that be, round of 16 matchup against Sabalenka, of course.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't count Naomi Osaka out. And to see the power versus power between Osaka and Sabalenka, even on clay, would really be something, I think.
Yeah, and look, they played in Madrid, 3-set battle. Sabalenka lost the first and came from behind and won in 3 sets. So there's been a recent match between these two, and I think you're right. Osaka is more comfortable on the clay. I think back to a couple of years ago where she really pushed Iga Swiatek to the brink and had big opportunities ahead in the 3rd set, like 5-2, maybe even have to match point. We'll see if she can string together matches. Victoria Mboko, as we sort of get into this, and as we speak, she's preparing for a final in Strasbourg. I think the fantastic thing here is she got a great series of matches and kind of found her form. She started late with her clay court season. Just got the one match in Madrid and lost. She pulled out of Rome, but here she gets kind of a full slate in tournament. And, she beat fellow Canadian Leylah Fernandez 6-4, 6-4 in the quarters. Strung together a couple good wins, beat Lois Boisson in that first round, former semifinalist at the French. So she's getting good reps against good players, and surely that bodes well for her leading into the second slam.
Yeah, and as we're speaking, this is the night before. This is Friday night now here in Toronto, and the final will take place, tomorrow, I guess, between Vicky Mboko, and maybe a surprise here, someone who has really seen her ranking drop recently, someone who's been on the podcast before. You spoke to her 2 summers ago at the National Bank Open, and that's American Emma Navarro. So really great to see her, because she was just fantastic in that interview with you 2 years ago. Super obliging, really nice, great, depth of views on the game, and she was right up there for a couple of years, so consistent. And so it's kind of strange to see over the last year or so this dip in play for her. Who would have thought that it would be on clay where we'd see her have this sort of resurgence, but great to see her there. And I think also a match for Vicky Mboko that she can absolutely, the Canadian, sink her teeth in and come away with the title against Navarro in this one on clay.
Yeah, I agree. And in terms of her Roland Garros path, I think the first couple of matches relatively friendly. There's a good chance she could play 2 Czech players in a row. Bartunkova in the first round, I would heavily favor Mboko, and then maybe Siniakova, who's a good player, but an amazing doubles player, maybe less of a threat in singles. And then, I don't know, Madison Keys has not really strung together much consistency at all this year, and really has kind of struggled with a bit of consistency in form kind of since she peaked and won the Australian Open the previous year. So Keys, for me, is not really one of those contenders right now at Roland Garros, someone who maybe I'll keep my eye on when the US Open rolls around if she's playing better tennis.
Yeah, I mean, she made the semis back in 2018, followed that up with the quarters in 2019. She also made the quarterfinals a year ago, so she does have those points to defend, so she can be comfortable on clay for sure. That would be a great match, Madison Keys and Vicky Mboko. I would absolutely love to see that one in the third round. I mean, you could throw those two in a final, and I'd say that's a terrific final. So to meet so early is it's a bit of a shame almost, but that's what you get when you're seeded 9th and 19th. We've also got Diana Schneider in there, who's slipped a bit to 25th, I think, but comfortable on all surfaces, as we saw a couple years ago when she won titles on grass, hard court, and clay all in one summer, if I recall correctly. American Jessie Pegula is in there as well. So pretty interesting group of players that we have in that very top quarter. Do want to mention that all-Canadian match between Mboko and Fernandez. I find it super awkward when Canadians play each other, because I don't know who to cheer for. Not that every Canadian player is my favorite player on tour, but certainly when you look at Vicky and Leylah Annie, they've both been terrific for us on the podcast. We've talked to them numerous times over the last few years. Leylah Annie going back a little further, obviously. That was a tough one to watch, not so much for what was going on court between the two. It was a 6-4, 6-4 win for Mboko, but off the court, there's been quite a lot of attention that's been brought to the interaction between Leylah Annie and her father and coach Jorge. Did you see the interaction? Well, I wouldn't even call it an interaction. It was a one-way sort of verbal tirade, almost, you could call it, from her father. A lot of people found it was too much and kind of over the top.
Look, I mean, as a coach, I don't like this form of coaching. That's just kind of the reality of how I feel about it.
And you're a tennis coach, so you've certainly got a style that works for you and your team at your club. And I mean, probably fit into it.
I think you can push players and you can motivate players and extract more from them in a more positive way, where it doesn't feel like some type of psychological beatdown. And I mean, there's been worse, I'm sure of it, on the tour, and there's been worse offenders, I'm sure, on the tour, especially in the past. But this, for me, was maybe kind of close to bordering on the line of some type of verbal abuse. And I understand sometimes that father-player dynamic can be a particularly daunting one, and it's a different relationship maybe than your natural coach player relationship. And
Well, I was going to say, when you often see those conversations that seem to push the boundaries, how often is it between a player and his or her father, or it could be mother too, but it often seems to be the sort of the tennis dad who goes a little bit too far. And we can talk about, Stefanos Tsitsipas and his father. We can go back to who was the Italian who won in Montreal a couple of years ago and then retired, her father with the big poofy hair. Oh God.
Ooh. Oh, sorry.
I know you're going to help me here.
Yeah.
The short Italian player who retired.
Camilla Giorgi.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you can go to some really bad ones over the years. Jennifer Capriati and her father, Jelena Dokic and her father.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like at some point when you get to a certain level, and I don't coach my kids who are going to be professional tennis or hockey players, but I do still coach them. They're 11 and 13 years old, and if they ever say to me at a certain point or get to a certain level where it's like, Dad, that's enough. It's thanks for what you've done for me, but I'm ready for someone else to sort of step in and take the reins. I feel like if you're a professional tennis player, the time is probably long come and gone where someone else maybe should take over, and you should just play the role of dad, or parent.
Yeah. Look, I don't know if, different players thrive off different energies from coaches, and the very best coaches know which players might thrive off positive reinforcement and maybe more of tough love. And I don't know, and I don't want to assume that Layla would enjoy or wish to be berated if she feels like she's not playing well. I'm not sure of that. I don't want to make also any accusations on the way Jorge is, but for me, it's kind of problematic. And for Layla, you look at her early success in her career and this sort of arc and trajectory where she was headed and how it's been the past couple of years. I don't think it's been poor tennis, but in a way, maybe results wise, she's stagnated a little bit in a sense. She's had a couple ups and a couple downs, but she hasn't really been able to take a big step forward. So she's getting to that point in her career. You're reaching the edge of like the crossroads. Does she kind of consider a change or consider a new full-time coach? Because she's a player of that caliber that she could absolutely go out and make a big time hire if she wanted to.
And we wondered the same years ago when Denis Shapovalov was still working closely with his mother, and she was kind of always hanging around even when he had another coach, and felt that it was time for a change and a new voice. And Layla Annie, to give her full credit here, she's been top 30 basically since 2021. I think only one of those.
Other than that one slip up a year,
slip where she finished the year, I think, at 32 in the world, but still like incredibly consistent. Yes, it's been almost 5 years since that final of the U.S. Open. And, in the translated comments of her father, he did mention something about how Vicky has been such a consistent player, and she's the one, getting to the quarters or that sort of stage of big tournaments, and that Layla hasn't done it in a while. Yeah. And I don't know. I just don't think there's any need, whether it's your dad or your coach or whoever, to have any sort of element that is shaming the player. And she's not a child anymore. She's what is Layla Annie now? 23, 24 years old. Like,
yeah, exactly.
So, we just want obviously the best for her and for other players who are in a situation where it might just be time for a voice that's not mom or dad telling you how to do it at that stage of life.
Yeah, I'm with you. And it was a little awkward, unfortunate to watch. But let's hope for a good Roland Garros for Layla. If we continue on kind of on this top half, we should talk about the defending champion Coco Gauff, who will start against fellow American and Taylor Townsend. Number 4 seed here. Who could trouble Coco maybe on the road to semifinals and a possible rematch with Aryna Sabalenka? Potapova has been playing some good tennis. You have Anna Kalinskaya there in the mix. Linda Noskova is a strong player. Anybody that could disrupt Coco's path here? She's been a little bit up and down, but is now kind of trending in the right way with this major upon us and a lot of points to defend after she made the finals in Rome.
Yeah, well, her clay court game seems to be on the rise because her first event in Stuttgart, she made her second match against Karolina Muchova. Great quality player, so there's no shame in losing to her. The next tournament, Madrid, she won 2 and then lost 1 to Noskova, actually, who you just mentioned. And then, of course, in Rome, made it all the way to the finals, losing two. And we'll have to talk about the veteran Aryna Svitolina momentarily, who had a terrific tournament. But, Gauff beat some terrific players there in Iva Jovic, Mira Andreeva, the veteran Sorana Cirstea, who you can never take lightly, and then falling in 3 sets to Svitolina. So I think her clay court game is rounding into form. I like her draw, especially through the early round. There's nobody there that really scares me if I'm Coco Gauff towards making the quarterfinals. And then at that point, whether it's Noskova or if an Amanda Anisimova perhaps is playing well, I still think by that point, things are really going to be clicking for her, continuing to progress. I'd really love to see that Sabalenka Gauff matchup. I mean, unless we can get a Vicky and Boko Gauff matchup, I'd take that first, actually. But I see no reason why Coco, I'm not predicting her to defend the title. I think that would probably be a pretty, not an unreasonable ask, but it would still be kind of a big ask, I think, with the amount of talented players in there and just how hard it is to do back-to-back at Roland Garros right now. But I do think she's going to have a solid tournament here, all things being equal.
Yeah, I agree with you. The one name, one of a handful of names, but one name I'm looking at who's had great success on these courts in the past, and she's getting healthier and healthier, missed a huge block of time with surgery last year, former top 5 stars, is Qinwen Zheng. And
oh yes, you know what, it's funny, I've got her as one of my dark horses to speak of later, but I didn't even see, I'm looking at like the bolded names in the draw, of course, and she's
well, she's in the top half, right?
She's not seeded. Yeah.
And she's unseeded, which to me makes her an even more dangerous wild card in a sense, because Linda Noskova, we just mentioned she plays very good tennis, but would anybody really be surprised if you saw Qinwen Zheng beating her? I don't really think so.
Right.
Amanda Anisimova is seeded 6th. I think she's capable here at the French Open. It was her initial breakthrough when she was a teenager, making semis here. Yeah, that was a long time ago, and I'm not sure about her reps on the clay, like confidence level. If she's due to make a big run here, I might look towards Wimbledon, US Open more so. So Qinwen Zheng could be kind of one of those wild cards in the top half of the draw that could disrupt things, and she could definitely, if she's healthy and fit, she could be set to go on a decent run if she gets into rhythm early in this tournament, which is definitely a possibility.
And she made the quarterfinals just last year, so it's I'm shocked. I know she was away for a while, obviously, but I'm still shocked that there's not a late 20s, early 30s seed next to her name yet. But I guess she must be close, eh?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I still think watch for Pegula as well. Winning Charleston. I know Charleston plays a little bit different than Roland Garros. That type of clay, the green clay, it's a little faster. Maybe it's a bit closer to a hard court, but I don't know. Pegula just, it feels like she's ready to consistently be in the back end of these Grand Slams. I would love to see her one day get a win. It's easier said than done winning a major, but she feels like she's ready to position herself deep in the tournament again, which wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and I feel like every time I count her out or I, don't give her full credit, it ends up biting me in the ass. So I'm sure she's going to have a good event just because of that right there. The bottom half to me is also just absolutely packed with talent. Yeah. And obviously Elena Rybakina is the 2nd seed. I don't have her on my winning the French Open card. But there are a number of talented players here who've either made a French Open final or gotten deep in the tournament. And how about veteran Aryna Svitolina, 31 years old, her husband about to play his last Roland Garros. So, she'll be watching that as well. But, what a career. She's never made a slam final, but she's made 10 career slam quarterfinals and 4 career slam semifinals. She's come back from giving birth a few years ago and just absolutely gotten right back to her top 10 kind of game. She's made the quarterfinals 5 times at Roland Garros before. She just won in Rome. She's coming in on fire right now. And I don't see anyone stopping her until maybe Iga Swiatek, and that would be at the quarterfinal stage.
Svitolina has been fantastic. Not just the clay court season for me, basically all season long. And you look at that run that she produced in Rome. It's not like the draw just magically opened up for her. She had some massive wins, basically from the quarterfinals on. I mean, she rallied to beat. Yeah, she rallied to beat Rybakina in 3 sets, 6-4 in the third. She beats Iga Swiatek again. If we recall, she beat her at Indian Wells and then does so again on Iga's favorite surface 6-2 in the third. And then she breaks down Coco Gauff and wins that in 3 sets. One of the biggest titles of her career. She's had a fabulous season. You look at most of her losses for the most part, have been to kind of superstar players. Semifinals of Indian Wells, she lost to Rybakina there. Dubai, she made the final, lost to Pegula. She's been so good all season. Australian Open, she made the semis as well. And this is an argument I might even borderline make is Aryna Svitolina's second act post-child. At times, has it even been better than her first stage of her career? She's been to 2 Grand Slam semifinals. She's picked up another WTA 1000 title. And for me, I just feel like the field is deeper and stronger now than it was when she was winning her events kind of 2018, 2019. I think she's, yeah.
I feel the same. And I'd have to go back and remind myself, obviously, of the talent pool back then. I mean, she kind of first got my attention. I believe it was a win over Serena Williams at the Olympics, going back to, God, I don't know, would that have been 2014 maybe? I'm not sure, but around that time frame, she won the Rogers Cup, now the National Bank Open. I believe it was 2015, 2016. At any rate,
2017 she won
2017.
Yep.
But you're making a good argument that is this second half of her career challenging the first half in terms of success. And, to put my tennis fan hat on for a moment, there are few players out there that I would be happier for to win their first Grand Slam, I think, than Aryna Svitolina, just with how consistent her career repertoire and resume has been. Obviously, what's going on in her home country of Ukraine for all these years, and her being so great at speaking out and bringing that to the forefront as well. It would really be nice to see by the end of her career, and she's 31, but she's still playing like she's a young kid out there with the way she's handling, as you mentioned, a very deep field of talented female players these days.
Definitely. And what a resume, even if she doesn't claim a slam. She's up to 20 WTA titles now. She's won the WTA finals, if we recall, multiple Grand Slam semifinals, bronze medal in Tokyo.
She's a Hall of Famer to me, regardless of whether she wins a slam title.
Yeah. I think she'd be in that conversation for sure. If she wins a slam, that would seal it. So I would love for her to go on a run here. She looks so calm and confident too. So I look at the early stages of this draw, and I don't see anybody troubling her. Belinda Bencic is seated 11th there. Bencic is a great player, a fabulous player. I don't think clay is her best surface. So I'm just not fully convinced. We should maybe say that the 15 seed Marta Kostyuk picked up the biggest title of her career during this clay swing, getting a WTA 1000, winning Madrid, where she beat Andreeva in the final there. So obviously she's coming in a world of form as well.
Yeah, and you've got Mira Andreeva, who's up and coming. You've got Karolina Muchova, who made the finals in 2023. You've got Jasmine Paolini, who's made it there before as well. Rybakina almost has one of the weaker clay court resumes of some of these women, or at least in terms of here at Paris, where she's only made the court, making the quarters great, but only made the quarters twice. What I'm interested to see is which Iga Swiatek do we see? Do we see the one that was so dominant for so many years in Paris? It's been 6 straight years of at least the quarterfinals for her. Of course, she's got those 4 titles to show for it. But the last 2 years, I think we would both say there's been a chip in the armor. She's not nearly as dominant as she used to be on the surface. And she's coming in with 3 clay court tournaments and only 1 semifinal to show for it. So there were years where she would win all of the clay events that she would enter. That's clearly changed. Players sense that she's now vulnerable on the surface. Do you see her getting through this bottom half, or is there just too many strong opponents that could potentially derail her here?
I really think she can get through. I believe it's possible. The reason I wouldn't have said that a few weeks ago, I really think something, I know she lost to Svitolina in the semis, but I really think something clicked for her in Rome. And we saw kind of the dominant version of Iga we're used to seeing on clay for a series of matches. She hasn't fully put it together completely, but we saw her kind of super rock solid like a wall from the back of the court and then dictating with the forehand. I mean, she thrashed Osaka 2-1, and then she beat Pegula 1-2, which for me, that win over Pegula was, I think, the best match she's played maybe this season. But we still haven't seen the entirety of it because she turned around and lost to Svitolina the next round. Now, Alina's playing amazing tennis. So I think we're going to see Iga in a semifinal. I will say that. Will she get over that hump? Because she's been in semifinals this year. And when she's been really properly tested, kind of back against the wall, when it's tough mentally, physically, 4-all in a third set with the big point, that's where we've seen a couple hiccups. And does that kind of rear its head in a really big close match? But I think you're going to see comfortable, dominant Iga in the first week, and then she's going to have some questions to answer at the back end of the tournament. That's what I believe.
Well, hey, let's wrap up here with the women's draw because we have been on here for a good 30 minutes already, and I'm not surprised.
We're digging in.
I feel like we're going to go through the men's in half the time, and that's fine too. We'll just stamp Yannick Sinner's name there and move on.
Yeah, that's it.
But if we had to pick our final four, I mean, for me, I'm going to go with Sabalenka and Gauff in the top half, which is not very exciting. And in the bottom, I've got, I'm going to go with Kostiuk because she's played well lately. And I think maybe I got to pick something a little more exciting here. And I've got Mira Andreeva as well. And, I really think Sabalenka is poised to do it here. She wants it. Her repertoire and her just, confidence in these events, as I said earlier, that consistency at the slams for her is remarkable when you look at the last few years, and she's missing this one, and I think she's going to do it.
I'll start with that bottom half. I think Iga finally cracks the puzzle maybe against Svitolina, and it is beating her in the quarters, and then we get Iga and Andreeva on the bottom half in a semifinal. I think you're right about Sabalenka. Certainly, I believe she'll be in that semifinal as well. I think Pegula will give her a push. I think we'll get a Sabalenka Coco Gauff rematch, and I have Aryna winning that one. And I think we're going to get a Sabalenka Andreeva final. And okay. I'm ready to see Mira win a major title. Okay. Can she do it?
There's no doubt she's going to do it at some point, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
So why not? Why not now? When
she falls in that category of it's a lock to me that she's going to win a major.
Yeah. So I think why not now when Aryna is just, there's a couple question marks and she did not have a particularly great clay court season whatsoever. Could this be the chance for Andreeva to really pounce? So I'll mix it up and pick Andreeva to win it.
Okay. I like it. Let's see. We got two weeks in a bit and then we'll find out.
Thank you guys so much for watching us at Matchpoint Canada. If you like our work, follow along, hit the subscribe button below.